Hey folks, it's Brad Henderson, Mayor of the town of St. Andrews. I think the first thing you'll see is that I have a unique background. I'm at Tides and Timber Glamping, a beautiful spot that's actually located in Bayside, New Brunswick. And it's actually fitting that I'm doing the video from Bayside because this video is really about Bayside and Chamcook and the impacts that municipal reform will have on the rural districts. If you do live in an LSD right now and you're about to join a municipality, I can guarantee you that the comments that I'm saying about Chamcook and Bayside will almost be mirrored with what you're about to experience. So to kick off, talking about municipal reform and the impacts that I'm expecting it to have on Chamcook and Bayside and my concerns about that, I think it's fitting that I start off to say that I went to almost all the engagement that the province of New Brunswick had. They had a number of virtual online sessions, but they even had an in-person session, for example, in Penfield, New Brunswick. In Penfield, there was actually 13 tables, I believe, from the local service districts and only one from the municipalities. So majority of what I did here from the engagement sessions were actually feedback from the local service districts. And the number one thing that they said is that they wanted status quo. They wanted no change. But the province made it perfectly clear at all those engagement sessions that status quo was not going to be an option. In fact, that municipal reform had been talked about for years, and it was indeed going to happen. So as far as people that did say that, okay, if it's going to change, I'll tell you what my biggest concern is. The number one concern around municipal reform that I heard is that if I live in a local service district and I'm joining a municipality, my property taxes are going to go up. My tax rate is going to go up. And the response that I heard at those engagement sessions is that that is not necessarily true because you can set variable tax rates, meaning that the existing residents that live in St. Andrews might be paying one tax rate on the property tax, and the people that live in Chamcook Bayside may be paying another. So it does not necessarily mean that your taxes will go up. That is only partially true. We can set variable tax rates. However, the purpose of this video is to let you know 100% that if you live in Chamcook Bayside, or again, any LSD that's locally joining a municipality, your tax rates for your property tax are going to go up significantly. And I will break down what that cost looks like for the people of Chamcook and Bayside and where that comes from. Before I get into that, I do want to say that I do have a bit of an internal challenge. I was very fortunate last year to be elected by the people of the town of St. Andrews to be their mayor. What I did not 100% know is that I would be becoming the mayor of Chamcook and Bayside. As much as I love Chamcook Bayside, I grew up playing sports, going to school. People that were on my line from Chamcook Bayside, I considered them from the same community I am, whether it be within the municipal boundaries or just outside of them. We all were from St. Andrews. For example, we all went to Sir James Dunn Academy. But I have a hard time just being the mayor because people from Chamcook and Bayside never had A, an opportunity to vote for me, and B, they never had an opportunity to run against me. I have talked to town staff and other members of council, and they feel that during this particular time that it is important that I remain in place for consistent leadership and to help with the transition. I will say that although I do see some benefits behind that, I'm still struggling with that because I do think that municipal reform should have happened with the election cycle. So somebody from Chamcook Bayside could have ran against me or at least had the opportunity to vote or vote against me. But if I am, I guess, becoming the mayor of Chamcook and Bayside at the beginning of 2023, I think it's important that I try to start being a voice for you. And the purpose of this video is to let you know, although I think that there was some healthy debate needed between LSDs and municipalities on shared services and the cost of certain things that people in the LSDs are using in the municipalities that the people in the municipalities are paying for, I think the way that municipal reform has happened is completely unfair. And I also think that the amount that you're about to be charged is also completely unfair. And it's not a St. Andrews challenge, this is a provincial. So let me break this down for you a little certain. And again, the number one thing that I heard with municipal reform from the LSDs is that they were concerned their taxes were going to go up. So in Bayside Chamcook, there is now things that you are going to have to pay for that you never paid for before. These are mandated by the province of New Brunswick. So first and foremost, the residents of the current St. Andrews are going to have certain things and services that they pay for and they pay for alone. But Chamcook Bayside is also going to have to pay for certain services with St. Andrews. What are those services that the people of Chamcook and Bayside will now be contributing? When the facilitator had a session with us last week, I took some notes. So the first thing that was drawn attention to was general government. The people of Chamcook Bayside will now be contributing costs towards the CAO for the town of St. Andrews, for accounting services, and for council. Again, you will be joining that council. The LSDs will have representatives, 2 from Chamcook, 1 from Bayside, joining council. But these are all general government fees that the LSDs will now have to pay for. There is environmental health services. The notes that I had for that was like solid waste collection and disposal. Those are things you're already paying for already, so that shouldn't be a very big shock. Recreation and culture is probably going to be one of the things that increases taxes in the tax rate for LSDs the most. People that live in the LSDs will now be paying for the arena, library, and museum. There is more. Those are just some that I quickly wrote down when I was in the meeting. Both the LSDs and that Chamcook Bayside and St. Andrews will be paying for environmental development services. Things that I had under that one was tourism and community development. There'll be emergency measures, things like dispatch, and even dog control was a note that I made of things that LSDs will have to start contributing for. So out of those new shared services, how much do the LSDs have to pay? That is the big question. So what was done in basically every entity, so every new community across New Brunswick, is they took a look at your tax assessment base. So to dive into St. Andrews, Chamcook, and Bayside, together they looked at our assessment. So the existing St. Andrews is 69% of the assessment base of the entire entity, which again is Chamcook, Bayside, and St. Andrews. Chamcook Bayside is 31% of the tax assessment. What that means is out of these shared services going ahead, it is going to be mandated that the town of St. Andrews pay 69% of the costs, and the LSDs now pay 31%. So let's transition that to what that will do for your tax rate. Based on the things that you have to pay for, there's a certain amount the province is taking for roads, and of course they always take their portion. Based on these new shared services, the calculation that I have before me is that the tax rates, the mill rate for your property, if you live in Chamcook Bayside, should be going up 55%. 55%. Myself, I thought with municipal reform there was conversations about cost sharing, but never did I think that your taxes would go up 55%. It's important that I completely support that what we do in Chamcook, Bayside, and St. Andrews should be consistent with the rest of the province. What I'm saying is that if you live in an LSD right now, the amount that you're going to have to pay, I think, is too much. 31% of the tax rate of the assessment value, I don't think the CAO is going to spend 31% of the time in the LSDs. That's just an example. So how quick? How does that change? Well, the province did pass basically a rule that said that your mill rates, your taxes, could only go up 5 cents per 100 of assess. So this 55% is not going to happen overnight. I think the transition time of the tax increases is supposed to be over 6 years. But what I'm here to say is not only is your assessments going up, your tax rate is going to go up significantly. So when you think about running for council for the LSDs to go battle the town of St. Andrews over how much tax you have to pay, the truth of the matter is we, the town of St. Andrews, have no say in it. The province of New Brunswick has determined what shared services you'll pay for, and they've determined how much you're going to pay. My biggest concern over municipal reform was that it would put neighbor versus neighbor. I still think it's going to do that, but the reality is there's not a whole lot to argue about when we already know exactly what Chamcook Bayside is going to have to pay. So what I'm really hoping is that we have people that run for council from the LSDs that want to come, work together, and find solutions, not only just to grow our communities, but also to save costs. But also, I will say that I said it's not fair what's happening to the LSDs. I'll give you an example. In the town of St. Andrews, we have a business improvement association tax that we charge to the downtown businesses. It has been the exact same every year, but it's incremental tax. Every year, your town council in St. Andrews has to go through 3 readings, virtually have 3 different meetings and read what the changes are. And they also have to have a hearing of objections, which means that there's an opportunity for the public to get before council and say, I disagree with this tax rate because of this reason or that reason. I think it's really ironic that such a small tax, and don't get me wrong, if you're paying it, it is a tax. But I find that really ironic that we have to go through all that process when the province of New Brunswick can increase your property tax by 55%, and you don't have an opportunity after hearing that number to provide feedback, to ask questions, to give insight. I think that major changes like this should be debated heavier. When we went through engagement for municipal reform, pretty much every question that was asked there wasn't an answer for. We're starting to get answers on what the province's plan is, and you don't have a voice. The other thing that I'll say is we have assessments going up. We have all these new shared services. There's new costs that the municipality of St. Andrews never had to pay before. Things like giving to the Regional Service Commission money for economic development tourism. This is all extra money that we didn't give before. That is not free. It's costing us something. But the most concerning thing is with all these changes, your elected officials, so myself, the council, the town of St. Andrews, and even your LSD reps aren't going to be part of the budget process for 2023. The province has a facilitator in every new community that essentially is going to be working with town staff and determining what the budget should be for the town of St. Andrews. So elected officials are being replaced by an appointed provincial representative that doesn't even live in our communities to tell us how we're going to spend our money. So needless to say that there is a lot of challenges around municipal reform and some concerns that are being drawn from it. So as more comes out, I certainly hope to update you more and more, but I wanted to provide this video to you tonight, once again to say that if I'm going to be a representative of Chamcook Bayside, I have a right to tell you what's happening, and I also have a right to tell you that it's not fair. So at this point, you can see Tristan came down the stairs at the Dome. I'm going to sign off and wish everybody a wonderful night, and I promise to keep you informed. If you have any questions or any concerns over municipal reform, please reach out to your local MLA, and as well, I'd be happy to talk to anybody that was interested in running for council. Tristan, come say have a good night, buddy.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye.